Okay, so for this one, we're gonna look at a semi-budget build for a barbarian, for a throw barb, which is something I've never personally made before, but after
Stay a
the
while and
patch, I
listen.
felt like I had to try it out. Since I've never done it, it felt like something new and something fresh, so I really wanted to try it out. And now I really want to show it off too. And I'm rocking pretty basic stuff. It's not something that's gonna be super expensive or super hard to find. Um, Let me go over the gear real quick. So we're using laying of hands for a little bit of increased attack speed, for some fire res, and the damage to demons. Since I'm using him for trap runs mainly, I don't really do anything else with him. I do a bear run or two every now and then, but mostly so it's trap and goal. And I'm using a Lancerator for the amp damage, for the increased attack speed, and then for the uh, chance of open wounds, prevent monster heal. The only thing I wish I could take off is hit causes monsters to flee. That part is kind of annoying, which you will see in a minute when we go to trap. I'm using a smoke as the armor for the all rush, and of course a little bit of faster hit recovery and whatnot. We're using an Ariat. It's a terrible one, so I haven't put in a Cham rune in it. But once I do get a better one, I will put a Cham rune in it to have the canopy frozen. Another thing that um, I wish I could change around a little bit is not having the Lancerator, but having a rare spear instead. I'll show off one that kinda resembles what I want, but it's not fully there. But yeah, so I'm using a 2 barb skill with all res. It's basically the skill and the all res I use it for. It's not really the faster cast since I don't have Enigma. I don't really need it, and I'm not a singer, so I don't need it. And then we have some lifesteal with a little bit of dex and some res, and we have a crafted one with a little bit of strength, a little bit of lifesteal, and some mana and some life. And then of course I'm using gold wrap for the moment. I also have some switch gear in the stash, which we're gonna go over in a second. I'm using a pair of gores for the crushing blow, the deadly strike, the faster run walk, the open wounds, all of that. And we're using the um, wraith flight, wraith flight, which is just for damage, right? So it's not really a super good weapon or anything, but I use it for the damage and for the lifesteal. That's the main reason I use this one. Um, yeah, I got a semi-good torch, decent Annie, and then a couple of max damage AR charms. This one is nice because it has that faster hit recovery as well. And of course a bit of magic find. There's a one with some poison damage. But yeah, and then of course I got a couple more of the AR max damage, life, AR max damage, and gold find. And then we got a couple of Warcry skillers. I have a 40 beads, and on the switch I'm using dual lem Alibabas on both sides for the extra gold find. And then in my stash I do have a G-Bane which I tried out, but I just have to I tried it out, was thinking I'd put an rune in it and then have the resistances there, but it's just not enough. It's literally not enough for him. So this is what I would like to get my hands of, is a ethereal yellow spear or throwing axe or whatever. Um, but it has to have different stat than this one has. This is just for kind of showing what it would look like. You would want above 300 ED preferably, and you would have some increased attack speed and the chance to cast amp damage like the Lancerator. That way this would have been super nice. Would it have had the Fool's mod on top of that, that would have been absolutely GG. It doesn't need to have the increased stack size or replenish mod or any of that stuff, because the skill in itself will replenish and do um, give me back the stacks. So I have a razor tail as well for the Pierce, but at the moment, since my um, mastery is maxed out, I don't really feel like I need it that much anymore. I have a string of eaters, which I usually use when I do bear runs. I also, when I'm doing bear runs, I'll put on the wolf howl, and then I'll transfer into a wolf to give myself extra life and safety that way. I have a pair of Infernos, of course, a couple of Dwarf Stores, Angelic, Amulet, and Ring. I would like to find one of these, but with like an ethereal one instead, because this is just not enough damage. And of course I got a couple of Warcry Spears, and again that's if I do bear runs, for instance. I'll swap the Alibabas out for these two. And yeah, as I said, I have a couple extra Warcries, I have some Goldfine Charms. I got a pair of Chansies if I feel like it. Yeah, I think that's about it for the gear. Oh, no. I do have this as well, which is a 5 to battle order helmet that I then use for. Sometimes I use it if my friends are doing Ubers. I'll stack as many skills as I can on my bow, so I can come in, bow them, and leave the game, and they can do the Ubers, and they don't lose their bow, and they have a shit ton of health for the entire run, which is super nice. I would never put this. I tried the Thunder Charm, but I'm never doing that again. I'm never putting that back on him. It's just not worth it. He takes way too much damage then. Since I don't have a shield, the damage you take is ridiculously high all of a sudden. Yeah, I feel like that's about it for the Barb in terms of the gear. We'll check the mercenary, because that's another thing that's really important. So here I'm using a Reaper's Tool for the Decrepify, which also helps for physical immunes like damage throws, and I'm using an Abdurials, but they cannot be frozen, the res, and that in terms transfers really nice to the mercenary, lets them stay alive a lot easier. And we got a Crown of Thieves for the lifesteal, and the Goldfine, of course, a little bit of mana, a little bit of life, and some fire res. And then, of course, it's a Might Aura, because I want to be gaining the Might Aura myself. Let's check the stats real quick. So I'm overstacking somewhat on all of them, just in case I get hit with lower res or conviction. So in my opinion, the fire res is of course the most important one. So that's why I'm overstacking fire res even more than the others. Yeah, and then as you see, the line character sheet says I'm only doing 1500 to 3k damage, or 400 to 2k damage. You'll see that it doesn't translate right, this damage. He definitely does more than this. I'm at 3200 health with 3300 with my bow without all the max skill, and if I max out the skills, I'm at almost 4k life. So that's pretty decent. It's not too bad. I did have to put a decent amount of dex in order to be able to actually hit the enemies when I throw my spears or my axes. Yeah, and then if we go to the skill tree, what I've done is I maxed out double swing, and I maxed out throwing, a double throw, and I have 1 point in the leap. It helps me get out of a sticky situation now that I don't use teleport. And then of course 1 point in the 1.1 here, and then we max out the throwing skill. And the best part about this is the throwing skill will give you a chance to pierce 49%, which is pretty decent. I don't feel like I need more than that. It gives me increased AR and damage. It gives me a chance of doing critical strike, and it has 59% chance to not consume quantity. That means when you throw a spear, it doesn't actually count as you from your stack, right? It doesn't take. And on a critical strike, which I have 31% chance of, I replenish that quantity that I used. So when I throw the spear, and then I got 1 point into howl to howl them away in case I get into trouble. I'll howl, then I'll leap away. And then of course I have 1 point into the 1 point wonders. I maxed out bow and got, I think, yeah, 8 points. Got 8 points into find item to get it to 50. It's at 51, but that's mainly due to having the 1 point into to find potion, since that gives you an extra 1% chance per point you put in. Yeah, that's about it for the gear. Let's go to Trav real quick, and I'll kind of show off how it works. It's super budget in my opinion. It's not crazy high. There's not a single high room here, right? Like I don't have the champ. I really want a champion in my area. That would help me a lot. It's not a necessity, as you'll see, but it is freaking annoying getting frozen all the time. So what I try to do when I do traps, I run this sideway right here to clear these guys out at the moment, since I don't have the champion, right? So I really don't want to get frozen in the middle of having to fight trap. So I try to always clear this backside right here. That's usually the side that provides the most amount of headache in terms of getting hit with that blizzard. I try to kill these water guys as well, just because those guys kind of, my mercenary kind of targets them if they are alive instead of coming up here with the trap. But as you can see, it doesn't seem like that's 500, like 2k damage, you know what I mean? It is ripping them pretty now. Keep in mind, this is players 1, and you won't be able to do this on players 8. There's simply no way to do this on players 8. If you go players 8 with this setup, what's going to happen is the other trap guys is going to be too fast at killing each other. So when they heal each other, you won't be able to damage them fast enough to kill them. They'll literally be able to heal each other every time. Now there is a major issue with the horde build.
I can't use this
which
yet.
is the bodies are bugged out. Not every time, but a lot of times you'll get bugged out bodies that you can't horde for some reason.
I can't use this yet.
You run up and he starts horking them. He does like that.
I can't use this
but
yet.
It doesn't. You can keep doing it. He'll keep horking it and horking it and horking it and horking it, but nothing comes out, and you can keep doing it without any result, right? And that thing, I feel like they really need to fix that. It's a major issue for this specific build or for the Barb in general, to be honest, that you can't hork everything you kill due to, I don't know if it's a glitch where if they're too close to a wall or too close to each other, if that's what's doing it, I'm not entirely sure. And I've run into this issue so many times now. It's very common. It's pretty much every third run you'll have 1 to I would say 1 to 4 of these bodies that it looks like you can hork him. He's like doing the animation of the hork, but it's never actually horking them.
I can't
never
use this yet.
Pumping out any kind of
I can't use this yet.
Of items or anything. So I feel like that needs to be looked over at some point. Whatever is causing it, I don't know. I've tested a lot of stuff. I still can't really determine if it's one or the other, because sometimes they'll be laying all of them in the same pile, it'll happen, and other times they'll just spread out all over the place. And it's the ones that are closest to a wall that you can't hork, or like in the middle of a doorway or something like that. Like they die on the middle of the stairs, and it bugs out the bodies, which is super annoying. But yeah, that's the build, guys. If you want to try it out, I highly suggest don't do this hardcore if this is your first go around with this, because you are probably gonna have a painful time in the beginning, getting to know your limits and how to move and how to go about things. But if you are already a decent player and know a lot of stuff about the game, the breakpoints and whatnot, then you are pretty safe doing this build, I would say. I forgot to go over the stats real quick here. So as you see, I don't really have that much lifesteal, which is kind of an issue, you could say, because I don't hit every spear or axe I throw. So I'm not getting the 12% every time I throw something. It's only when I actually hit I get that, which is kind of annoying. But it is what it is. You can live with it. It's not the worst in the world, but it's definitely kind of annoying. And as you can see, I have no faster cast. There's no point in having that. I have some faster hit recovery. Might want to have a little bit more than that, but I'm good enough with that for now. And then we have some crushing blow and some open wounds, some damage to demons, and some deadly strike, which is also very nice for him. Yeah, I think I went over everything here, pretty much. So, but without a shield, having there's a 58% chance of them hitting me. It's not too bad without a shield, in my opinion. It's pretty decent stats.
Hello.
Yeah, that's it, man. I hope you guys like the build and you try it out for yourself. It's definitely something new, something fresh, and something different. And I will say, if you do get the duels, if you absolutely stack this build out with the best gear there is, if you get the absolute GG gear, this build is gonna do players 8 chaos like it's nothing. It's flying through that stuff, but that takes a lot of gear, high runes, super expensive items like this rare kind of throwing weapon that has the cruels, the fools. It has the increased attack speed. It has the amp damage and all these things, which is such a hard ask. It's really hard to find. It's not something you're gonna drop. Um, you might not drop it playing every day for a full year. You know, that's how rare these kind of things are. So that's stuff you'll have to either buy off of one of the like JSP or like Tradery or something like that. You have to find a trade for it, or you have to gamble it, or you have to re-roll it. So the way you would re-roll it would be you would take 6 skulls and you would re-roll this and hope to get that. And then you would need like Enigma, you would need dual hodos, you would need arachnids, you would need some FCR rings, some more FCR in the amulet. You want to hit basically either 75 FCR or 105 FCR. That's 105 is in my opinion is the best, but it's not a necessity, although it is very nice. And you would probably go with some crafted gloves instead, in my opinion would probably be a little bit better, because you'd be able to get some more of the stats you would want. Yeah, I feel like I covered all of it pretty much. I could show off real quick what it looks like when you do change into a wolf. That way you get an idea of what I mean by doing the bail runs with. So doing the bail runs with this build, I suggest you just leech and you don't do wait a minute. There we go. Okay. I would suggest just leeching, not doing, not going in the middle or anything. Just stand on the side, leech. You can throw some spears and whatnot, but using the wolf, you won't be able to throw your spears. So, but if you look at my health now, I'll switch into the wolf. So we are 3,400. Switching into the wolf, we go 40. We get another K life, right? Which is just for safety measures. We get a little bit more defense. We get a little bit more AR, but we don't really need it. So that doesn't matter. And now he's doing 4k straight damage with the Feral Rage. Not the best. Or not 4k damage, what am I saying? 400 to 1300 damage, which is really not the best. It's not that good. It's more so for leeching, right? I would probably go with a Undals, do the Warcry Spears and then Undals, so that way I can just hold Undals while I'm in wolf form, and I'll gain XP faster that way. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But I feel like this damage sheet does not show the true damage of what he's doing. It feels like he's doing a lot more damage than this. 9k AR is not the best either. It's not bad, but definitely could go a little bit high on that too. Which there's multiple ways of doing that. But I suggest going for this as a budget build is very nice. It doesn't cost any high runes, it doesn't cost anything madly expensive, and I can do this trap runs on terrorized trap runs without it being any issue. But yeah, that's the vid right there. I hope it's useful, and I hope some of you try it out, because it's super fun to play. Actually, it's different, and it kind of feels a little bit like a Javazon, but it's not. And it doesn't pressure the PlayStation. Since I'm playing on PlayStation, it doesn't pressure the system in itself. When you throw the lightning fury, the pressure on the system is massive, and I have a lot of issues with that, where I'll get disconnected from the servers or whatever due to the intense lightning coming out of the lightning fury. It's just very hard for the PlayStation to handle. But yeah, that's it, man. Appreciate you watching. I hope you will be back for another one someday.